Meeting, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and start this, starting on the pledge of allegiance. Please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. All five council members are present for a roll call. At this time, the first item on the agenda is approving the minutes held on August 7th. Make a motion, we sign those minutes. Motion been made, second by Bob, all in favor. Next item up is entering a public hearing considering junkyard applications. Any problems with junkyards or?
Nate, our code enforcement officer, has gone around to visit the locations and no issues, and I believe at the baseline, you have the applications right there.
Yep.
I make a motion, we approve those 6 junkyard applications.
Motion made, second by David.
No.
A question by David.
Regarding 379 Oak Street, I've signed the permit, I don't have an issue with it, but if there was a way that we could clean that up street side, it would be more appealing to the neighborhood, the street. But, and I'm not sure if there's an ordinance, maybe Nate can chime in on that.
Yeah, there's a property maintenance ordinance that we can, or we can just talk to Mr. Brickett at some point. Get the front of it cleaned up. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Motion's been made, second by Mr. Nutting, all in favor?
Yeah.
Next, is a junkyard permitting, we already got that, next one is, first reading, of camping vehicle temporary ordinance.
So I will apologize, it's not the first reading of an ordinance, Jan's not here, so she couldn't set me straight. This is just a draft that we're bringing forward. We've had several complaints of RVs being used as homes. I'll let Nate speak on what he is seeing.
So what you're seeing in front of you right there, is and that was, I think it was posted on the website too. Is sort of a copy paste from another town that has this ordinance. So there are some things missing in it as far as like the state statute for penalties and whatever's. What this is we get a complaint from a neighbor that says that somebody's renting their camper out or somebody's living in their camper. We really don't have much to go on as far as ordinances to restrict that. Shoreline zone does, as far as like 120-day period, you can have a camper there, but you have to, just like you miss, show that you have proper septic, right? So you have a septic design, you're able to pump into the public water or the public sewer system. I guess that's where it falls. And temporary vehicles, being campers, are not meant to be primary dwellings, right? I mean, it's made to be temporary, temporary living. But some of the campers that are in town that are sitting on a private lot with a house, with a 3-bedroom septic system, with a 3-bedroom house. And they'll have a camper with 2 or 3 people living in it. Well, that's not a bedroom that you're adding to that septic, if that's where they're putting it. If they are pumping it, if they are taking it and dumping it into a septic tank, that violates the state subsurface wastewater law, which says that thou shall have a septic system suitable for the bedroom size of your house.
And our sewer ordinance.
Our sewer ordinance is that if you have, every dwelling unit needs to have a separate service, right? So if you have a camper on your lot and you have a service there and you have potable water, then you're able to put it into our public sewer system. How we find out, how we charge on the sewer bill is by water consumption. So the water consumption is nothing more than just a couple big water buffalo tanks that you're filling from your neighbor or whatnot. But you're still dumping your septic into the public system. There's no way of charging that sewer bill, right? Nobody's paying for that. Or I guess the other people that are paying the overage, or the taxpayers paying for that. So This is just something that has like a little more teeth to it that defines that you can still have a camper and you can have it here for hundred and twenty days. But in order to have that camper and you're gonna be there for more than a long stay, then you can show, like, let's say you're gonna have a camper that's gonna be there for 3 months. You can show, like in the shoreline zone law says, that you can have a pumping schedule. So you can have like AAA toilets, Stanley septic, somebody like that come in and pump your holding tank that's built into your camper. That's called a pumper schedule, and you guys have seen that before with holding tanks, right? So holding tanks, in order to have a holding tank in Oakland, we have an ordinance that says that you shall submit this piece of paper to the council, they'll approve it with a pumper schedule, which means that it's a schedule to be pumped out twice a month or once a month, depending upon use. So that's sort of where this is falling into. I don't know, it's just, like I said, this is just a draft, this is nothing more than something that we just kind of threw out there. And if people like it, we can go with it. If people don't like it, then it gets thrown out. But I just think it's something that we should at least toy with the idea of, because there are a lot of campers in town. Just driving here on the town farm road, coming from town farm road down Summer Street to here, there's 3, 4, 5 campers, and one of them probably uses the house because it's like a camper style. The rest of them are all something similar to that right there, which, you know, if it has proper septic, it's registered as a recreational vehicle, and it can be moved after 120 days and put back on the spot, I guess that would work, but it has to be shown that that's the proper use of that vehicle. If somebody just takes the wheels off of it and jacks it off, it's a dwelling unit at that point, and the dwelling unit still has to have proper septic, and it has to pass IRC, a National Residential Code. We've adopted MUBEC, which is energy standards, so now it has to fit into the energy standard. Because now it's not a mobile home, which has its own set of code rules. It's a recreational vehicle used as a dwelling unit. So there are some barriers there, but I think that we can all make this work with this ordinance. Maybe, maybe not, but that's all I have to say. Yes, no.
What's your guesstimate of how many of those types of units are in?
I mean, on 3 roads, there's a dozen. And that's just 3 roads right here. I didn't go through all the roads to check, but I would say this, I don't know, a rough estimate, I don't know. A ballpark figure would be more than a dozen, less than 30.
They're just showing up.
They're showing up a lot, but I mean temporarily, like in the summertime, you have an in-law or you have somebody come to stay with you. I mean, that's what it is, but if it's gonna be there for a long stay, maybe we should just figure out where the septic is going, right? Like, is it getting thrown out back? I'm sure there are some spots that are getting dumped into the catch basins.
What are they doing in the winter time to keep warm?
Don't know.
From greater
I
propane?
don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly what they're doing. I know one of them I found today, that one
This
right
one has
there,
a
that has a
wood
wood
stove.
stove in it. So, I mean, that's probably a fire hazard. I'm not speaking as a firefighter, but I would say that's a fire hazard. Yeah,
So my concern with this, these units are not built for long-term use.
absolutely, absolutely. They're not.
That is a non-compliant wood stove, which creates a hazard for the occupant. This town has already lost an individual to fire in a camper.
Mhm.
Right on the Sawtell Road. Everybody knows my history. I've seen lots of these. They've had probably a dozen this year of lives lost or seriously injured because people are living in campers.
Yeah.
Which is more than that occasional go out for a couple of weeks or use your 120 days and you're done.
Mhm.
Once you modify a unit like that for heating, you're asking for trouble. They're not built for long-term use.
And try to get a gurney in that door.
Yeah, you're not doing it.
You're dragging them up.
Is that the only property, the only,
No, yeah.
that's on the property?
No, there's a house on that property as
There's a
well.
house.
Yeah.
Hey, Nate,
Yeah, sure.
are they gonna say on grandfather day, you can adopt this language?
I don't know. I would say not, probably. I mean,
We still need to find out where the septic is.
there is a spot in this ordinance that says that, you know, you can, if you want to stay more than 120 days, like I've had people that are building houses, right? And they have their camper and they put insulation around them and they are set up for winter use. They're building their houses. I mean, if they wanted to come to me and come to the council and say, hey, listen, can I get an extension for 3 or 4 weeks or 3 or 4 months while I'm building my house? I think that that's an agreement that we can make as a town, but I don't know. I don't know that answer, right?
I think you would go back to, like, say, code or you back something, so this is a non-conforming residential unit.
100%, Dave. So,
Sure.
It sounds like from his description of the ordinance and the reasoning behind adopting an ordinance is there are already existing laws and codes and whatever that are not being applied. Why do we need to create an ordinance for the town specifically? If there exists laws and regulations that can be applied to those situations, where they apply, for example, a wood stove in a trailer, there's already a law that says you can't do that. Why are we creating a town ordinance? And who's gonna be responsible for going to these dwellings to see who is living in this trailer at this time? Is this one person can only live in that trailer for 120 days? Or is this 120 people living that one day out of the 120 days and it's done? Who's gonna see, who's to say, who's living it during that time?
I think the benefit behind it is it gives the town teeth.
That means that you don't have to research what else is not being done. Means you can go to this ordinance, but there already exists laws and regulations in place. Why not use those?
I would say it's just much cleaner to have an ordinance. It's a much
It's much
easier.
cleaner to make the own town ordinance than it is to follow the existing laws, is what you're saying.
Right.
I would, yeah. I would say-
Basically, the ordinance will encompass all of those rules, regulations, and then it's a one-stop.
So, yeah,
What do we have in place?
We have nothing in place as far as these vehicles other than the shoreline zone. So this sort of mimics what the shoreline zoning ordinance says, which is 250 feet from high water mark or 75 from the street. So that pretty much excludes those because that's already in here. This would just be for in-town lots or lots that aren't within the shoreline zone. Sure. That's where this would fall into place. And I mean, I would think that having an ordinance, like this would streamline the legal process if we wanted to go there, which the town of Oakland normally doesn't, but it just gives the town a little more teeth. And it's just, I think it's a lot more cleaner if you want to go to court.
So some of these things have been up for years.
Yeah, I would say that some of them have, but most of them,
Right.
yeah.
And so why haven't we done something for years?
I don't know if there's been any complaints. I don't.
You need a complaint, follow the law.
No.
So I don't understand.
Yeah.
So would the town rather have some shitbox trailer on a property that looks uninhabitable, that had a brand new $100,000 camper there? That's tied into city water, tied into sewer and all that?
Well, I think that would classify as 120, I mean, it would classify it in this category, it would be fine, right? It'd have to be moved after 120 days, but,
So we're going to pull it up for that?
yeah, I guess.
Well, I know.
I mean, sure, yeah.
Now.
Yeah, my son said, oh, what they say.
Yeah, no, I get it.
He bought property in Oakland. It was, the house had burned. The guy was going for, he made a deal with him, rented the garage for a year, then he decided to sell the property. He told me to wait for that to off. So he bought it. We went to the code enforcement, that they were gonna build his girlfriend, starting out. Then the way the other place was, we were informed that they were 30 days too late because you only had a year from the time it was taken down to build it in the same spot. So that changed the whole, what what they're trying to do. So they went out and spent $100,000 on a brand new fifth wheel, which is in your slideshow. $5,000 in sales tax. You want $2,400 to register it, and now you're saying they can't live in it. After 120 days, so what's to say you've got some rich retired doctor who got here 6 months a year? They can't stay here more than 120 days, so you're gonna tell them, thanks, no one anymore? It's not even reasonable. I mean, you put $1,000 ship trailer on that, it's okay.
Mhm.
You know, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense.
Well, I would say that-
They're just ratting, people ratting.
I would say that, tell me about it. I would say that a trailer, is built to a manufactured code, right?
Yeah.
That's how they're built. Recreational vehicles are made for temporary use and not for primary. use.
They're four seasons.
They are.
Cold and you know, so if it freezes up, you know, it's.
I mean, I have to check on that to see what that's checked as primary. That's
If
fine.
you had 1,000 of them on Main Street, we want, Jesus, you're saying 12 to 30. Deal with the issues. If you got unsafe properties, deal with that.
Right.
You know, it
You
doesn't make.
say, if you've got 100 of them on Main Street, or if you have 12 to 30, there's a difference. It's no difference if you have one or if you have 100,
Right,
they all should follow the same rules,
fine,
right?
okay. So we told that $100,000 camp truck puts $1,000 shit box in. What did you gain? You gained an eyesore in the neighborhood.
As long as he's following the rules that require a septic plan and all that other stuff.
Well, he just paid $5,000, have the driveway work done and have water put back in. So now he's got water and he's tied into the sewer. I mean, what the,
So in this case,
septic tank, tied into the sewer, private septic.
so in this case, he's building a house, right?
Eventually,
Right.
you know, not having done, this year, I mean, the travel, no like we do, so you want to go, we could put them. Yeah, you know, so. It was on all weekends. It just seems unreasonable.
So let me ask you, this is an interesting conversation. So if you do have something to say, could you please rise and speak up loud? Because there's some of us, we can't hear it, and I hear some of what you're saying is spot on, but I'd like to hear it all. So, and then that's right. So Carol, you're next. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Stand up and tell us, say what you want to say. I'm sorry, you raised your hand, I'm sorry.
No, just a couple of comments that were made in that discussion was, so after 120 days, look it up and move it. That's not the way the draft read. And I understand that, yes, it'll probably be fixed. Was it's 120 days cumulative in a year? So is that one individual in that one trailer for 120 days, or can that individual stay there for 60 days and somebody else stay there for 120 days? But my whole problem with this ordinance is it was based on the introduction. It may be incorrect, I understand that it was generated out of a few complaints from the community. The other problem I have is the way that it's being drafted, using existing laws and ordinances. If there exist laws and regulations in place, why are we creating a new one? And I get the answer, so that I have one document that resides in town that I can go to. Well, you did the research to create the ordinance. You already have the information you need. You don't need the ordinance. It's just another thing, as it was exactly his words, to give teeth to the town employee that's going to enforce it. That's all it is.
Ma'am.
So you're saying I own my property. When I come home from Florida and plan on staying on my own property that I bought with my own money, I cannot live in my camper for 6 months. Is that what you guys are trying to do?
No, see, first off, we're not trying to, this is a letter right now, we're trying to figure it out. So it has not been set into anything, we're trying to see how this can best be worded. So that was one of my questions, if you come home from Florida, you mean you can only stay here for 3 months and get out.
Not happening. I own my property.
I know that, I'm just saying, that's the way it's worded right now.
And that,
This is not a final document, this is nothing final about this, we're reading it and discussing it. And that was a point that maybe our code enforcement officer has not heard of or not thought of. So we're trying to figure it out for the safety of the people who are living in such a location for the winter.
I can understand the one with
Right.
the Woodstone.
And that's a good point you brought up for your 6 months.
That one with the Woodstone, no, I totally agree with that, but if you've got a nice plaque model sitting on your property and your child is staying in it because the cost of living is so much they can't afford to go out and pay $2,000 a month rent. Do you guys realize how many homeless people are gonna be on the streets in Oakland when you decide that they can't live in campus? My son and his fiance both work 40+ hours a week and they cannot afford to pay $2,000 a month for rent. And they don't have small children, but they can't afford it. Who can?
Thank you, point well taken. Sir,
I'm just kind of
could you
curious.
stand up, please, sir?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry. I'm just kind of wondering, if the septic system will hold it, is that okay or not okay?
Yeah, I mean, that would have to, if the septic system was a
Design.
three-bedroom system and you had a two-bedroom house, you have room for another bedroom. I would say that it would probably, yeah, I think there's some paperwork that has to be involved as far as like a site engineer, yeah.
So with the water, if you're in town, the water is hooked up to the camper and the sewer is hooked to the town sewer. Is that legal?
Yeah, that is legal.
So the big issue is not the eyesore of the property, it's the waste that's generated from it.
And the.
Somebody's not paying their share of the sewer and water bill.
And where's the waste going? That's like,
Well, in my place, it goes in a septic tank.
and that's wonderful, thank you. But, you know, maybe we need to have this.
Yep.
If
So I'd
we
like to make a
something-
motion that we table this for now. We try to rewrite it with the, Kelly, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
My only concern is, we're gonna echo again what this fine lady said, is people being able to afford housing. I mean, I've looked at house prices in the town of Oakland, my daughter's looking to purchase a house. She probably will never own a house in her lifetime. In Oakland, the average price is $400 to $1 million for a home in the town of Oakland. Rents, if you can find one in Oakland, because I tried to find her one in Oakland, are $2,000 for a one bedroom. $900 for a studio apartment. You're gonna have homeless people as a result of this. My concern is we're not addressing what the issues are. So we check what the sewer is in each one of these. We check if they're safe and those things. Blaming somebody for being able to only afford what they can afford to live in is wrong in my eyes, because they're doing the best they can do in this economy that is impossible for hardworking people to live in. Just one, 2 cents.
So again, at this time, I'd like to make a motion that, not even a motion, I guess I'll make a suggestion that Nate goes back with this information you've heard, Nate.
Yeah.
And try to look and configure out some, reconfigure this maybe, for the safety of the people with what Kelly has said, what this young lady said, what all these people have said. Because I have a lot of the same concerns.
Okay.
And there's a number of homeless people. I see them bright and early in the morning when I'm up riding around, and we need to take care of our people. So, thank you. Our next item up is, item number 3, carry FY 24, carry forward.
So we've started on the audit. Part of that is getting approval.
Yes. I was gonna say it.
Yeah. Hold on. Hang on. So these are all unexpended expenses. $606,809. So we spent 96.42% of our budgeted expenses for last year. We had 606,000 left. Revenue, we had overage, so we brought in more revenue than what we budgeted. We were $242,511 over what we budgeted. For a total of 800,000. I would like to have permission to bring the following forward to this year. Fire department would like their equipment and equipment maintenance. They had 1,300 and 1,500 left over. The rescue medical supplies, 1,146, vehicle supplies, 500, equipment maintenance, 659. Administration, we're only gonna bring forward Jan's election money, which was 22,000, and then that's one we carry forward every year anyway. And then our other, employee separation costs, memorial maintenance, solid waste contingency. Police department, just due to the fact that they're getting new vehicles and lettering and I'd like to bring forward their 2,100, for vehicle supplies. And then Public Works, we always bring forward their leftover gas and diesel, lube oil, and then their salt and sand. So that all totals up to 106,150. The capital stuff is automatically brought forward and closed out Fund 6. So that's all taken care of. So I guess we need a motion to approve these. And then we had 2 departments that were over budget this year. Transfer station overspent the tipping fee line by $36,295. But their overall budget was only over by $22,265. And then code enforcement was over in their legal service line by $9,334. And that was just due to some legal issues that we had with a resident. But his overall budget was only over $3,000. So if we take carry forwards and the 2 overages, it's 131,000. So right now, before the audit, we're at about 718,000 going into fund balance to use for next year's budget. So
I'd make a motion, we transfer these, carry forwards into the department's budget, $106,160. We carry them forward into this year's budget.
I second that, but I have a question.
yes,
I was following along nicely until you got to the transfer station where the difference is 36,000. And the code enforcement was 9,000 and change. And then in your little block down at the bottom where you add all that up, 106, 20 becomes 106, 22, and 3. What happened to the 36 and 9?
because other lines, this is overall budget. Like they were over in that line, but their whole budget overall was only over by 22,000. So other items in their budget absorbed some of the overage.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So motion was made, second by Bob, all in favor? Thank you. Okay with that.
Good with that, so I,
Next item up is the Cascade Storage Building. We got the.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
yeah, you gotta do
Let's
that.
do the over budget part, yeah, sorry, go ahead. David.
I make a motion, we, take care of the shortages we have on those budget lines and move it over into the total budget.
Motion has been made, we have a second. Second by Mr. Nutting, all in favor?
Thank you.
Now we are.
So AJ, our little storage building that's over by Fire Station 2 is rotting away. He had put $4,000 into the budget to do the roof. But this is more important. The whole backside, the whole side of it, the big beams underneath are deteriorating big time. These are some pictures he sent me today. You can see the post is gone right here. It's broken. Cement. Things back here, so it's along the whole side. Just gold, if it's pretty wet back there, the bog is right there, so when that overflows, it comes in, it gets under the building. We did get a quote, and he's working on getting a couple more, but just kind of a ballpark to fix. It would just be, probably jacking it up, cutting out the rotten pieces, replacing with new board. And then our guys would do the siding and what else do they call it? Siding, rough boarding inside it. So we're looking at about $12,000. We do the replacing of the siding ourselves, they'll knock 2,900 off, so now we're down to 9,200. So we're looking at $85,000. You can use the 4 from the roof. Put towards this, but this needs to be addressed. I say we wait and get a couple more quotes. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. It's a storage building, it's cold storage, it's not heated, there's a lot of fire department stuff in there, rec department, basketballs, t-shirts. Yeah.
Sure.
Is that the museum, basically, the front of it is like the museum, for the old firefighting
The
equipment?
building behind it.
Okay. And take it by the river?
Behind the museum, behind the fire building, yep.
So. there's that.
How come we just discovered it and we didn't discover it when we were doing budget?
Um.
I mean, this
AJ,
isn't, this
they were
isn't obviously
mowing.
isn't new.
They were mowing or something near it, doing some groundwork and discovered it and then removed a couple pieces and we're like, whoa. So, it's not like you, well, yeah, it's not like you get under, on the ground and look under your building.
What is the condition of the roof?
As far as I know, it does need to be replaced. I think it leaks in several places, but it's not ruining, they've moved the items so that they don't get ruined.
I guess if the building is worth saving.
Right.
I would question why not do the roof and 9, 5, 10,000, whatever it is. You don't have buildings for storage, and if we really are using it, then
Yeah,
I think we should.
It's beautiful inside. Wooden barn, it's got big beams, it's beautiful.
Sir,
The question kind of along with this question is, with regards to the roof, is it simply replacing the shingles? Or is it replacing the structure?
I
There's no
believe
difference.
it's just
Just a shame.
That-
But it's leaking, but this year we'd be replacing shingles, next year, replace the structure. So I agree with Dawn, I think we ought to look into it and do it all.
Alright,
What a waste of a good building.
yeah, I'll talk to AJ.
If you're gonna do the foundation, you may as well do shingles, if that's what it is.
And with the roof leaking from the top, everything's gonna rock there now. It's just gonna be further, you're gonna have to replace. So you might as well just do everything now. Be cheaper in the long run.
If you get that for one.
Okay, I'll let AJ know. One more thing. Two more things, actually. Oh, yeah,
John?
Yeah, are there any plans to do something different so it won't happen again? In other words, that's no buildings, probably they weren't pressure treated, you go to pressure treated, but maybe get everything up higher. It looks like probably the siding went pretty much to the ground on the way it rotted out, because there's no air flow.
I think it did,
That would be part of the quote,
yeah.
Yeah,
because there'd be no sense replacing it, you know.
they provided you ask for that, if they're gonna do, not fix it, so. It's just a bad, it's all.
how often does that flood? How often does it flood?
I don't know, like,
There's a bog behind, kind of like Heath Street, and then this kind of comes up the back of it. When we get lots of rain, I'm sure it's high. I know they're replacing the box culvert on Heath Street, which is going to help flow that water out of there, so. Anything else on that?
next item up, your mental health trail assessment.
So Kennebec Metzlansky Trail Group, contacted Aaron, our rec director, and myself, and want to do an assessment of this trail over here, Metzlansky Street. We do have Metzlansky Trail funds available, there's like $10,000, $10,031 in a reserve fund. This company from Outdoor Sports, and Mike Smith gave a great, scope of the work, the projection, the field work they would do. There's many bridges in here that, out. There are broken boards. We have replaced some of them. But in conjunction with the Meslonsky Trail Group and this company, for $2,300, he'll come and do, an assessment and provide us with a nice presentation so that if and when, and hopefully the bond passes for the trails bond in November, we would be eligible and ready to apply for those grant funds.
That's $2,300, Tim.
Yeah.
And that's to just tell us what needs to be done?
Needs to be done, safety, different areas that different along the way. The trail group really pushed this. I guess Waterville did one, and they were able to get grants to help fund the building of the bridges and the structures needed to make it safe.
So are you saying that you need to spend $2,300 in order to find out what's wrong so that you can get it fixed with the trail bonds? I mean,
If you have,
it just seems to me that somebody could go look at it for less than $2,300 and tell you what was wrong with it. Maybe that's just me, I'm not an expert on trails, but
this guy is.
I can see
And
why.
I can send you their deal, their proposal. And have you.
I don't remember.
Yep.
So I make the assumption that we have funds available for this project,
We do,
for the trails.
for the Meslonsky Trail, yes.
Historically, if you have a set of plans shelf ready, and when you go for a grant, you are much better off getting the grant
Yes.
than had you not been ready.
Correct.
Just to spend the money.
You guys want, I mean, we can table it till next meeting and I'll send this to you guys, review it. Read it.
Don, hang on, Kevin, is this company that's proposing this, is that the only one around that does this type of thing? Or is that the one that has done Waterville, Winslow, and every other town?
Yeah, they're very familiar with this area and they've done quite a few trails.
Have the other town, have we spoken to the other towns to see if they felt that was the money well spent?
I talked with Waterville, they sent me their copy of their final proposal and it was very thorough, very in-depth, professional. They did a good job, it was easy to work with.
Kevin, you got a question?
I did, it kind of goes along with Dawn's. 3 miles of trail just for someone to walk it and say, hey, it needs this, it needs that. I think $2,300 is a little high. I mean, you're gonna take 2 or 3 hours of someone's time to get down there and assess this. Is there anybody else that does this, or can we look into it?
We could get a couple more quotes. I could have the trail. President do that.
Kelly?
My only question would be, is that fee flat to do what we asked him to do, that 3 mile trail, or can you include the school trails as well? While he's doing them, that he walks the school trails for the same price? I agree, I think it's a lot of money to spend for somebody to walk and tell you you have written broken board.
So it's mapping and planning, assessment, site visit, field work, trail conditions, analyze the terrain. Meeting. That's. Then they would develop a final packet.
There's some bridges down there and quite a few wooden walkways, so I assume this recommendation here was made would be pricing out the lumber and the material, pressure treated or whatever to replace these bridges and trails with, it wouldn't be just taking a look at it. And I assume he's gonna come up with a recommendation of so many timbers of this and so many of that, and suffice them to repair this trail, I would think.
I can
Rather
check.
than just take a look at it and say, yeah, you gotta do something. I don't know that, but I assume they would.
I can check on that. I'm not sure that would be. We did suffer a lot of damage and down trees during the recent storms, you know, last winter.
I guess to kind of roll that all into one discussion is what that assessment going to include a package to be delivered to whoever the grant writing agency is? Or is you're gonna pay this person this to tell you, to provide you this information? And then you're gonna have to take this information to pay somebody else to develop a grant package?
No, we would have that
That's
to
the
be able to
grant
do
package
that
that they're going to
ourselves.
I think, does that answer some of the questions? Just so that
Yeah.
I guess, I won't tell you what I think of grants, but that's another discussion.
Free money.
No money.
I know.
Like with the four-wheel club, when we get stuff like this done, we always have volunteers that come in. The four-wheel club has its own insurance, so we're able to get people from the club and get out and do these types of repairs. Is this something the town's gonna do? Or is it gonna be just hide out with the contractor and say, go do
Well, good question. I know that Kennebec Mesalonski Trail Group has their volunteers. And when we developed this trail, the town got money, and this is just leftover money that is earmarked for that trail. So it's been sitting there for at least 5.5 years I've been here. And they came to me and said, can we get an assessment done? I know there's money left on it. Let's see,
Ma'am,
how much money is left? $10,013.
I think going back to what David, Councilor Grover said, that, you know, a lot of times when they're looking at giving grants out, if you have a plan, self-ready plan, you know, and a plan's all set up and you know all the steps to it, they look at that as if, geez, that's free money, I think I'm gonna go run and grab it. So I think it's a lot of money, but I also drive by it a number of times and there's always a number of cars there. And I think it's wonderful that people come here and walk the trail. And I know 3 miles is not a long ways, but if this guy's gonna give us in-depth how much pressure treating we need for each bridge. I haven't been on it for a couple of years, but I know there's some washouts, because people have told me there's washouts, and if we can get this in-depth for $2,200, and there's already $10,000 in, you know, and they're gonna donate, and it's not free money, there's no such thing as free money, but if there's a grant that comes through, and the town of Oakland can get money that I no expense to us personally, in the town, then, you know, let's, I think we should take a look at and get this guy to come and give us a very in-depth study. Ma'am, come back.
Is it decided that they will provide us with what we need to fix it?
Because you were
I'm gonna check on the wooden
Yeah.
structures and the sizes and the amount of lumber, and I'm gonna check on all that.
Right, because if it's not part of that,
Right.
we might as well do it ourselves.
So this time I'd like to table this until our next meeting, so Kelly can research to see if we find out if, is it part of the wood? You know, do we need, you know, X, Y, Z amount of gravel, blah, blah, blah. And I just think that would be the better way to go.
Just for clarity, my understanding at least is that the money that's set aside for this trail, $10,000, is money that's been there. And it's earmarked for that. It can't go anywhere else. If it's spent, it's going to be towards the trail. So it's not a new expense that's being incurred. It's just assigning those funds that are there for that purpose. That, to me, makes a big difference.
So I make a motion, we table the next meeting. Motion's made, second, all in favor. Thank you. Next up, the MMA workers' comp, refund.
Yeah, so every year we. So each year, we belong to the workers' comp fund, and the property casualty pool with Maine Municipal Association. And so all the towns, you know, in Maine belong to this. They provide dividend payments, back to the municipalities. So this year, we got $7,496. They send a little press release because they want people to know about it.
David, what do we do with those funds?
Those funds get put into just a revenue line and it gets swept into fund balance at the end of the year.
Can we create a safety account for that money?
We could, we have,
So that if we need to buy ice cleats for public works or safety shoes or something like that, that could be used for something to change a sidewalk or something like that, that is gonna protect our employees. That's the intent behind that, I believe.
we do have a safety grant, account, so
That would be my suggestion.
that would probably need a motion though.
I make a motion, we place the MMA funds, dividends into a separate account or into the safety account.
Motion been made, second by Mr. Regley, all in favor? Thank you.
I will move those tomorrow. That's all I have.
David, did you have anything?
I do. I received a phone call from a citizen that lives on Huzzy Hill. On Sunday, they counted 38 ATVs coming down Huzzy Hill. And I know why that's happening. So the gentleman's in the room that leads the group. Is there any progress on the Huzzy Hill Road Trail?
Yeah, we had a contractor go out and do a bunch of repair. And then Bessie, which is the owner of that spot, had a meltdown on basically how that didn't work. And he's made sure that the trail is staying closed until Bessie himself can come in and finish the repair the way he wants it done. Supposed to have an excavator dropped off next week, and he said within 4 or 5 days it should be done. And hopefully we can get it over that.
So what's happening if the public doesn't understand that is that you can come from this side of town all the way through the woods, get to the top of Huzzy Hill. You used to be able to do a short run to the end of Huzzy Hill Road, and then there was a trail. Oh, they closed that trail, so now everybody's going down over Huzzy Hill, taking Oak Street until they get to the Lake Road and get back on the trail. Which is not technically legal, because we haven't given road access, but that's the ATV committee's project.
The other problem is from High Street over to Huzzy Hill Road. That land has been sold in between, it's not Savage. The new owner does not allow four wheels through, so that section of trail is now closed until either okays it or never. And for all the wheelers that you saw, you said it was Saturday night?
And no, it was Sunday, I believe, during the day is when it was.
Okay.
He's outside working, he counted 38.
I witnessed a lot of them that came from the blow ride on Saturday night, that people living on Oakland, they zipped up Oak Street rather than going the trailer and back in home.
Not sure the exact time, but he's counted 30. It's more, he's noticed that increase in.
Mr. Grogan, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Mr. Bowman? Mr. Canada? I'm good. I'm all set. Mr. Regley? David?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor? Thank you folks for coming. Nice to see you. Thank you. Good night.